All right, I'm driving, and I just want to talk about gun control. I'm not even going to get into the racial component that everybody's trying to turn this shit into with this Virginia shooting. Yeah, the guy was gay, he was black, he felt like he was discriminated against. He referenced Charlestown, and I'm pretty sure that, like that shit weighs on black people, man. Black people get tired of hearing that shit, the fucking, the slavery, the discrimination, the disenfranchisement, the redlining, the lack of job opportunities, the nepotism of other groups of people, right? Because black people done bought into all that multiculturalism, but the reality is the world operates on group economics, ethnic capital. That's how it works and operates. And I think that black people, a lot of times coming from white people, are convinced not to operate like that. So they don't take care of their own communities and they don't take care of their own environment, which puts black people in a very disadvantaged position. And then, when they wake up to the reality of how the world really operates, it's too late. And a lot of black people can't handle waking up to that reality. So, me, I know that, the rhetoric of, let's all hold hands and kumbaya and all that other, it's total bullshit. It's social integration and shit. Like, it's total bullshit. Talk about some economic integration. That's what's never going to happen. Not when it comes to the money. But by the same token, I think that, you can have somebody that just, you just mad because you got, they were fucking with you. Because I don't think white people try to act like black people like wake up in the morning on some, we hate whitey. No, it's everything. It's the whole context of being black in America for the past 400 years and, all the shit that happened before you were here and all the shit that still goes on and it ain't never going to end. That shit fucks with you psychologically as a black person. And white people just think that you're just going to accept your lot in life and just, stay the inferior class or the bottom class. So, I can identify with the frustration. Is that going to win anything over? Is that going to, straighten white people out and whatnot? No, it's just going to make it worse for the rest of black people, out here, right? Then white people circle their wagons and, black people don't really have much of a response. That's why all the rioting is going. Rioting is for the powerless. Marching is for the powerless. It's for the people. They don't have any other way to respond. If you start fucking with white people, the white people can respond in many other ways. They can deny you economic opportunities, deny you loans. Like, they have all different avenues of getting back at you if, they can't go through the justice system or however, whatever system they whatever, system they use as a tool to get shit done. Right. But that's like my preface, to this whole video. But what I really want to say is about, talk about is the fucking gun control that they like keep bringing up, and I'm like, look, man, in a society where people have the right to bear arms, which is supposed to be against tyranny of a tyrannical government, right? Unless people are going to go out here and be the thought police, right? You're always going to have acts of violence. I don't know what it is with a lot of these anti-gun people where they believe that, like, it's like they feel like gun violence is worse than any other type of violence. Their issue is gun violence, right? They always want to report on these type of shootings or just any shooting. Doesn't even have to be a mass shooting. Any shooting. Like this what happened in Virginia is not a mass shooting. It's a, somebody went postal. They lost their job and they shooting the place up. They shooting their coworkers. They shoot who they're mad at. He had beef with the camera guy. I don't know what beef, but he had beef with the camera guy because he felt the camera guy snitched on him, and went and reported him to, what do you want to call it? Human Resources. So he had beef about that, But, That's not a mass shooting. I'm mad at you and I'm gonna get you. That's what that shit is. You know? That's why I don't think that the other stuff, the extra sauce that he threw on there, and the Charleston shooting and Whitey and this and Whitey. No, you was mad at white people because white people are the ones that hold the opportunities, and you felt that you were being discriminated and denied, and so you took it out on the white people who you felt, were threatening you, or denying you access to your livelihood. But the whole Charleston thing, that ain't got much to do with the shit. But the anti-gunners, they constantly want to grab, this is an opportunity to push their agendas that don't even make sense. You know what I mean? Like the Virginia Tech shooter, he went through background checks. It's not the background checks. And again, living in a free society, there's nothing stopping a mass shooting from people who, or not even, I shouldn't say mass shooting, a shooting from people who already own firearms. I could go off the deep end tomorrow and be like, I'm killing Whitey, I'm killing people, I hate the world, right? Do like the white people do, because they just indiscriminately kill everybody, women, children, whoever's in the way, Black people typically don't do that. They target who the fuck they're mad at. It's usually not generalized. It's usually a straw that breaks the camel's back, and then they fucking snap on somebody. But it's not no blanketed, I'm killing everybody type of shit. That's why we were all shocked when we found out the DC snipers were black. We were like, what? Like, black people were shocked. We were like, what? We was fucked up about that. But, it's just like an example. Like, if a guy already owns a firearm, right? Like, let's say it's 2015. A guy goes and buys a firearm, okay? He's already went through the background check. 10 years later, he comes home and his wife is fucking the shit out of the pool boy, okay? And he goes in his closet and grabs his gun and blows them both away. Would a background check have prevented that? Like, there's a lot of people that go off the deep end, right? Like after the fact, they go off the deep end when something traumatic happens to them. The idea that background checks are going to stop, shootings is absurd. It doesn't even make sense. I get the idea that, you want to prevent people who are already mentally disturbed from gaining access to guns. I get that part. The part that doesn't make sense is the, we're going to use background checks to stop the violence of the people who already have firearms in their closet, and they could lose their job tomorrow and decide they want to shoot the fucking place up, or their wife is cheating on them and they decide to shoot the fucking place up. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't stop that unless you're just going to be the total thought police. And the people who are like, let's get rid of all guns and whatnot, that is absurd. That's like sitting there and saying we're going to go back in ancient times and we're going to get rid of all the bows and arrows and swords and men on horseback, and remove all the evil people, from the dark ages. I'm like, that's stupid. You're not going to be able to do that. Even if you got rid of all the fucking guns, there would still be evil in the world. I don't know what it is. It's like anti-gunners think it's better to be hacked to death than shot to death, right? I'm like, they should be more concerned with the act of violence itself, right? And look at the things that bring about these acts of violence. Right? Not the tool that's used for the fucking violence. I get it. Guns make it easier to kill people, right? That's what they'll say. But they never look at it as guns also make it easier for people to defend themselves. Right? All the time. We see mass shooting. These people are shot. Look at the violence. Notice, the media never covers the people who defend themselves from a home invasion or a carjacking or deter, don't even shoot anybody. They just point somebody's following them to an ATM at night or whatever, and they pull the gun out and they say, hey, I have a gun. And then the person or the two guys that were trying to assault the person run away. They never report that. You know what I mean? You never see them on the news and saying, hey, I think two guys were trying to rob me last night and no shots were fired. I just pulled the gun out and pointed at them and they ran off. They were looking really menacing and they followed me for 5 blocks. And when I turned around with my, my cold hard steel, they fled, right? Possibly saving their own life. But is the media ever going to report on that shit? Fuck no, they ain't never going to report on that shit. They're going to make it demonize guns, get guns away from everybody. I swear this is like, some type of global agenda. I swear the whole goal, skipping past race, skipping past class. Well, actually, I can't skip past class because it is about class, right? For the people who are in power and control all the wealth, who are majority white people, right? And they're screwing even the working class white people over, but you can't tell them that because they're too clueless, worrying about the blacks taking over or the Mexicans taking over, not realizing that the very people who are in positions of power to screw them the most look like them. Can't tell them that shit though. What they want is they want to have a world that's easy to control. And a world that's easy to control is one that doesn't have small arms. Don't give me no shit about, well, what are you saying? I mean, clearly small arms can't go against tanks and drones and okay, go ahead and tell that to the Taliban. Go ahead and tell that to Hamas or ISIS or whatever that the U.S. still hasn't fucking gained control over. How the hell you gonna have what? What's the U.S. military consist of, right? How many people are in the military? 1 million, 2 million tops. Then if something were to go down, all the people who would abandon the military to go back to their families, the police force, you only got I don't know how many police officers nationwide, but it ain't that many. They wouldn't be able to enforce. They wouldn't be able to impose, martial law or whatever they want, tyranny on a population of people who were armed the way Americans are armed. If you wanna go back to, the way that shit is in Iran or Egypt and that, if you wanna go back in Syria, right? You see them fighting Al-Assad and the government and people are like, oh, this can't happen in America. Again, I'm black, I'm African American and shit. If there's any group of people who should be pro Second Amendment, it's black Americans. We know what it feels like to be underneath the fist of an oppressive government. That government is called, a system of white supremacy. That's what we got to deal with. But for some reason, you get these anti-gunner white people who act like, oh, but that can't happen to us. I'm like, y'all just so naive. You are so trusting and so naive. And stupid thing is, there's a lot of black people who are equally as simple-minded and naive, and that shit blows my mind. Blows my mind. Because if you want to see, the government exercise its brutality on the people, you need to look no further than the African American. White people should be identifying with black people in regards to tyranny. And how an oppressive government can come down on your ass, but, I know the blanket of whiteness makes white people feel all warm and fuzzy and cuddly and not identify with their fellow human being because they identify with the powers that be because they believe themselves to be on this elite team that they're not on, not realizing that they're not members of the same class. But you can't tell them that shit, so I'm like, well, fuck it, They're clueless, so they're just gonna be clueless, and that's just what the hell it is. Meanwhile, I'm out there buying up body armor and guns and ammunition just in case some shit pops off. So if some shit pops off, hey, I'll be shooting back. That's all I can say. Whether I get taken out or hit, that may be the case. But I ain't going down without a fight.